Hey, do you or someone you know work on an exciting sustainable solution that needs scaling? Why not apply to the Zayed Sustainability Prize and increase your reach and impact? The Zayed Sustainability Prize was established in 2008 as the United Arab Emirates Pioneering Global Award for recognizing organizations and high schools for their sustainable, innovative, and humanitarian solutions.
How will you feel if you win the prize?
Oh, very happy.
Today, the prize counts 15 years of global impact, with 378 million people around the world benefiting from its winner solutions across the 5 categories of health, food, energy, water, and global high schools. Now, they're adding an exciting 6th category called Climate Action. This special new category aims to recognize and promote innovative solutions that address climate change and protect the planet for future generations. If you know a deserving small to medium-sized enterprise or nonprofit organization that's working to promote climate adaptation and resilience and nature-based solutions, nominate them today for the Climate Action category. We're pleased that the Zayed Sustainability Prize will be sponsoring this podcast series. To learn more about the prize, visit zayedsustainabilityprize.com and submit your application before the new extended deadline of May 23rd, 2023. In 2021, corporations spent $522.5 billion on advertising, according to Statista. Advertising affects how people choose to spend their money. Advertising can sometimes encourage people to buy things they may not necessarily need or even want. This realization led Teresa Moore, who's been a fashion model for 15 years, to use her influencer status to encourage people to incorporate sustainability into their daily lives. Additionally, Teresa is an investor in sustainability-focused companies, and after getting a sustainable business degree from NYU, she also acts as a sustainability consultant to clients looking to make a positive impact on their environmental footprint. This episode features Teresa Moore, sustainable fashion model, investor, and consultant, as part of our Women in Sustainability series. Hey, Teresa, thanks so much for joining the Sustainability Champions podcast. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Daniel. It's a pleasure, and I've been following you guys for ages.
That's awesome. Really appreciate that. And looking forward to learning more about you and your background and the work that you're doing. And so you wear a number of different hats. And the way I like to start these conversations is by kind of zooming out and going big picture. So you are a fashion model focused on sustainability. You're an investor. You've been a sustainability consultant. So how would you say you focus on sustainability? What is your maybe overall goal when it comes to sustainability?
I'm passionate about sustainability because I've worked in advertising for 15 years as a fashion model. And then I realized that we are so overconsumptive. There's so much advertising targeting how people behave that I wanted to figure out a way that we can live a beautiful, stylish, modern life, but also do it in a sustainable way. So yes, I do wear many different hats. I, as I said, was a model. Then I went back to school as I became a mom, and I went to NYU and got a degree in organizational behavior and change with sustainability as my major. And I loved learning about like environmental economics and sustainable business. And I really think that creating sustainable solutions that are easy and accessible for people is a way to move forward the sustainability journey. So yeah, I then started trying to incorporate sustainability into all parts of my life. So I started with investing. So I've been an investor for a long time, for about 10 years in private equity. I took a Harvard Business School sustainable investing course and started working on moving some of our portfolio into sustainable investments that have real impact and a market rate return. And then from a modeling perspective, because I have a presence on social media, I decided to make content that was cool and stylish and talking about sustainability in all sorts of different ways in very realistic, modern terms to give a vision of sustainability being something that is something that you want to do, something that you want to aspire to, and that it's pretty easy and you can be stylish and empower yourself by making these choices rather than falling kind of victim to the advertising industry always dictating how you should behave and how you can consume.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, we are so easily swayed by advertising, and it's everywhere all the time. And I think we're completely conditioned to sort of, on one hand, see it, on the other hand, ignore it. And we're so used to advertising that we don't even realize it's happening. I mean, you go on the internet, basically every time you open your phone and look at apps and everything, you're just bombarded with advertising, and it becomes part of your psychology. So, and I really want to revisit that, but I'm curious to know, in terms of your focus in sustainability, because as an investor, you get to see a lot of different companies, and if you're looking at portfolios, then you'll see a number of different ways that you can invest in different kind of theories and opportunities. Is there a common theme that runs through your choices when it comes to, when you're a consultant, what kind of clients you'd want to take on, or as an investor, what kind of companies you're looking to invest in, especially on the private equity side, or as a model, what kind of messaging that you want to put out there? Would you say that there's a common theme, or basically anything and everything?
So just to speak a little bit more about my sustainability consultancy work, I've been a sustainability consultant for 2 years, and I did this throughout while going to NYU and doing my degree in sustainable business. And my most amazing project was Auberge Wildflower Farms. It's a luxury resort that's 90 minutes north of New York City. And it was a ground up construction. So it was sort of like this utopic project where we could do almost anything we wanted. And the developers were very sustainability focused. So some of the things we did were, we achieved 40% energy savings in building construction. And we were also awarded New York State NYSERDA government funding for the commercial new construction program. And, we did all of this with like double glazed windows, LED lighting, energy efficient equipment, smart monitors, and we got the Design to Earn Energy Star Award from the EPA. And then we also secured a 1.5 megawatt hour community solar contract to sort of ensure renewable power to the property. And at the end of the day, one of the other parts of this, which I think ties into the sustainable lifestyle part that I am so interested in, is showing our guests the quality of being in nature. These are, mainly city goers that are coming 90 minutes north of the city to escape and have wellness in nature. And we have guest programming like zero waste programs. There's no plastic bottles or serveware or straws. There's a no-till organic farm that's on the premises, and we use a lot of those produce in the kitchen, and we compost all the food scraps. So we try and be as circular as possible. And we also, there was a lot of different parts of that. So there was also we also did a lot of sustainable brand placements of non-toxic, low packaging or local products to try and keep that idea of health and circularity and wellness at the property. And then for guest experience, we also made like natural playgrounds that had no plastic. So we reused a lot of the soil berms that were created from construction and molded them in certain ways with big, huge rocks that we found on site and planted trees and so on to make a playground for the children that was like entirely natural. And which was so easy to do, kids can explore nature and climb with natural materials. And then we also, give little snipping shears in the room so people can go and pick their own wildflowers, which is the namesake of the property. And we focused on rehabilitating, a old meadow into native wildflowers as well. And thinking about the pollinator program there. So that project was quite robust, and it had a lot of aspects from construction to guest programming, biodiversity, and so on. And it was a utopic, amazing project. And I advise everyone to go and visit Wildflower Farms.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. I mean, it sounds like one of those a perfect place where everything is done with sustainability in mind. I'm curious to know, I don't know if you have access to this type of information. You obviously don't need to speak about specifics, but the devil's advocate might say something like, well, as a business, why would I invest so much more into these things? Isn't it more expensive, and isn't it like just cost too much to do double glazed windows and to invest in LED or to get all this natural lighting? From my experience, I've seen and heard, at least from others, that actually somehow at the end of the day, it ends up either working out financially, like it basically is the same, or it ends up being even more profitable for the business. As you were doing this, did you get any sense of the financials of how that side of it works from a business perspective?
Absolutely. So as a sustainability consultant, one of the primary focuses is prioritizing and listening to the client and understanding, like, what are this client's or all of the stakeholders' priorities, and how does that fit into the budget, because there's only so much money. What was so wonderfully successful that I think is a model to replicate was, because of the sustainability work that we'd done, we received a CPACE loan, which was 1% lower. And at this time, with interest rates on the rise, is even more meaningful. We were able to secure a loan that over 10 years would have saved the property like $5 million. Because we had these sustainability initiatives and we could qualify for a green loan. So another aspect is, some of these energy efficiency upgrades, of course, they have payback periods, which you can calculate, and you can say, yes, maybe it'll be marginally more expensive in the beginning, but from the energy saved over time, we can calculate the payback period to be 3, 4, 5 years. And then it's much cheaper. Also, the community solar, New York State is wonderful, and they offer community solar at a discount. And we got government funding. And, I think with the new Inflation Reduction Act, there's also a lot of possibility to have a lot of incentives for solar or for agriculture. Immense amount of opportunities there for people who want to do sustainability work and have cost reduction from these government incentives. And that's both on a federal and state level.
Yeah, and I think you outlined that really well, and that's in line with what I've heard as well. Is once you start actually looking into it, it ends up either saving you a lot of money or you end up being more profitable. Sustainability is actually it can be, if done correctly, really good. I'd like to shift to one of the other hats that you wear as an investor. You mentioned that you've been investing for a number of years now, and I'm curious to know what kind of, especially on the private equity side, that's a lot of fun, I think, to see the kind of innovation that's coming out and what founders are thinking about and doing in terms of moving the sustainability agenda forward as a business. So what are some of the funds or companies that you've been investing in or seeing, and how do you really approach investing into sustainability or sustainable companies?
Yeah, so I think the first step is to get involved with investment communities that are working in this space. So everything from pre-seed, startups, VC, and then moving into later stage like private equity. And I am just learning the ropes, and having been a private equity investor for 10 years, real estate was one of the first wins for me. So, multifamily housing, different things like that. So Workforce housing was like where I first started to sort of see, especially that financial managers are starting to package these things up. And I wanted to find a product that either had some sort of social impact or an environmental impact that was meaningful, and that my money wasn't just going into some opaque private equity fund where I don't know what I'm investing in. And so I started asking more questions. And I'm one of those people that in the investment room, regardless of things, if they're traditional investments or impact investments, I'm always asking about what are the environmental and social aspects. So to clarify, I do not invest in ESG index funds. And I think that there is a lot of controversy there on that topic, because a lot of those ESG index funds are highly correlated with the regular S&P, and you're paying extra fees for not much impact. And so where I think your dollar as an investor is really meaningful is investing in energy transition funds, solar development funds. I've invested in a plant-based venture capital fund, and also like disruptive climate tech funds. So either that's carbon capture or software processes or new technologies. And all of this is very interesting. And I have to say, a lot of the science is well over my head. So, and it would be for most people because it's so broad. Some of these funds can have an incredible breadth of investment thesis in different kinds of companies. So you have to trust your fund manager that they have the technical team. So I would look that you have a technical team in that fund that you're going to invest in that certainly has PhDs in whatever specific, if it's forestry or photovoltaic or carbon capture or whatever it is. And then judge whether you think that that's viable. And there's, I think the later stage, the safer your money is for sure. You want to see where that the hockey stick starts going vertical, right? And you don't want to be in that early stage where maybe nothing's happening for a while. So I'm a little scared of like pre-seed and like early things. But I certainly want to learn more, and I want to support innovation, and I want to support a planet that's positive and healthy and stewards, this planet for my children.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I think you're right as far as investing at a risk level where you're comfortable. Some people love the pre-seed and even earlier like angel investments, but I think it has to all be balanced. I mean, you can't put all of your eggs into that kind of basket. But what I'm curious to know about is, sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, so I took the Harvard Business School Sustainable Investing course, and there's some major themes, which are you opting out of certain areas that you definitely don't want to be involved in? So, for example, like wasteful, fossil fuel heavy businesses. Something like urban sprawl to me is particularly scary for biodiversity loss. So having these excluded factors is also another important part of developing a portfolio, an impact portfolio.
So it's not just what you're including or what you're investing into, it's what you're not investing into is equally important.
Yeah, so we've also, over time divested from things that we didn't believe in, and that's a slow and gradual process. And if you read any of the big players, for example, how Microsoft is divesting from carbon, they really have to analyze a lot of details, and especially when you start getting public equities with all sorts of different index funds, it starts to be very opaque. And I think that's where you have to embrace, okay, I'm going to participate in some of that market and participate in public equities. I still haven't personally figured out how to do public equities in a real sustainable way. But I think augmenting your portfolio with impact choices and talking to founders. And I think it's really fun because I like this space. So like I like going to conferences, talking to people, talking to founders, talking to fund managers, and just see what's interesting to you and see if it makes financial sense.
Yeah, I think, and that I agree with you. I mean, part of this podcast, I get to talk to founders as well, and it's so much fun to hear their vision and to learn about how they see the world, and it is different. And frequently, what really excites me about it is that they're so optimistic about the future. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be spending so much time and energy and effort in creating this business. And it just reminds me that, yeah, there are a lot of challenges that we're facing with the environment, but there are a lot of very intelligent, really hardworking, very dedicated people all over the planet who are looking to actually solve these challenges. And it's really inspiring. And so I can completely appreciate that feeling of wanting to talk to founders. And what's amazing about you as an investor is that you hear their vision, and then you can support them with the money they need to actually go and make it possible and make it happen. And that's
Absolutely.
so
And
cool.
it's so meaningful. And I think one part of, when you get to a place in life where you feel you're ready to invest your money, you are making that choice in how you can participate in society. And sometimes rather than donating money philanthropically, investing in something directly that's going to sustain itself financially, as well as sustain the planet with an innovative technology. And those technologies can sometimes be very simple all the way to very advanced, futuristic and sophisticated, but you're participating in something and helping that grow. That's just a beautiful vision.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's sustainable. It's self-sustaining financially. So it continues to go and go and go, assuming it's successful. Moving to the third hat out of the many that you're wearing, which is you are a fashion model, and as you said at the beginning, you make content and share a message to inspire action and to demonstrate what's going on. So how would you say that you use your platform? I mean, you said you make content, but if we go a little bit further into that, what kind of content are you making? What's the messaging that you're hoping to get across to your audience, and what's that change that you're hoping to see?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to have an aspirational, beautiful vision of the future that's also highly accessible, that's easy and modern. And I try and make these images and messages, and I put them on my Instagram primarily, to share basically that a sustainable lifestyle can be a fashionable lifestyle, and it's fun, and that it can also be smart and stylish and cost effective. And most of all, I've come to this understanding that we are so manipulated by advertising and by trends and peer pressure and things that I think as people and as consumers, we need to take our agency back. We need to say, I actually want to make decisions for myself. And I can also start to participate in choices that are outside of the economic model. So, instead of buying, I did a video that I'm going to post next week about self-care. And for example, instead of self-care being, oh, you have to buy a new beauty cream or go on a shopping spree or something like this, you could go for a walk in nature for free. You could hire a babysitter so that you can go and, hang out with a friend or something for a few hours. Like, there are so many options rather than just consuming and buying more and more stuff. And there's other examples. Like, I made a video that went viral about old versus new, and how often we're shamed into thinking that an old garment is of little value and things are only valuable because they're new. And I think that is marketing BS. And we need to recognize that and allow each other to say, hey, like, if you love that 10-year-old t-shirt, 20-year-old dress, whatever it is, that's awesome. And I fully support that. And if you want to buy something new, you're making that choice, and that's awesome too. But don't ever feel the pressure that you need to be in this consumer hamster wheel of constantly purchasing new stuff. And so I really want to empower people. I really want to empower women to feel that they don't have to be kind of like swept away in the wave of consumerism, which might not be good for their bank balance. It might not be good for their health or for their stress levels. Like, I think like we just need to take a step back sometimes and relax and say, I actually don't need more stuff. Often what I need is a social connection. So for another example, I've made another video that was about sharing a banana bread loaf pan. So I needed to bake a banana bread loaf pan with my kids, and I needed to have this rectangular pan, which we didn't have. And I was gonna go buy one on Amazon. And I was like, hold on a minute, you're like a sustainability hypocrite, right? So I thought, what's another way I can get this pan? I can text my group friend, my group chat with my friends and ask, does anybody have this pan? A friend said, yes, I never use it, take mine. I made a couple loaves. I gave my friend a loaf. She was so happy. She like had this feeling of love and community spirit. And it was just like a win-win for everyone. And there's just simple concepts like this that I think we need to advertise in a non-consumeristic way. So we need to advertise, hey, there are resources all around us all the time that are underutilized, and we're wasting money because marketing is telling us you need to buy more stuff. You need to have one of each for every person, every household. And sometimes you even need to have multiples in that household, right? And that's insane. That's completely unsustainable. And it also is very isolating. So I think what I'm trying to make a message with my content is that we should be creating community. We should be taking agency of our own choices. We should be empowered to live a beautiful life. And we live in a society where we already have so much stuff and we're so blessed. So let's respect that. But we don't need to overconsume, and we can feel good.
Yeah, I love that message, and I think you're absolutely right. It's what really hit for me out of what you just said is that it's two things. Number one, again, going back to the financial aspect. I mean, with your example about the banana bread, getting the pan. First of all, you save money, but also, like you said, the way our consumeristic society is run now, it is very isolating, because you could have just gone on Amazon, like you said, and bought a pan, which is fine and great. And if no one had one, you probably would have ended up doing that, but you wouldn't have communicated with anyone. Instead, you communicated with your group, which is one touch point, and then someone actually had it. So you went and met your friend, then you gave back a loaf. It's this whole thing. And all of that is because you chose not to buy a pan on Amazon, and you deepened your friendship with and connection with your friend there, and you saved 10, 15, whatever dollars on not buying a pan. But if you do this over the course of, I mean, think about how many times you need to buy stuff. Exactly. And the number of
can be reflected in some ideology. So I'm just trying to simplify in a positive way a different mindset of how we can consume, and it being connected with community, it being honoring the resources that we have all around us, and also saving some money and creating. And I think by saving money, it also creates less stress, and that's a form of self-care.
100%. And yeah, I mean, if you save, I mean, $10, $15, a few times a month, it adds up to a couple hundred or a few $100s. And sometimes you need a bigger item, or, and getting a ride with a friend or a family member instead of doing an Uber, things like that also adds up, and you can find all of these opportunities.
Right. And you're making connections along the way. And it's just a win-win.
Was there a moment when you realized that this is the work and the messaging that you wanted to do and share with the world?
Well, I was born in Tonga, which is a tiny Pacific island in between Fiji and Samoa in the South Pacific. And that was, I think, a big part of who I am, because being such a small place, it was very circular. Food was local and fresh. If your neighbor burnt garbage, you knew about it. There was no away, as we say. And so sustainability was really visible. And then I went to high school in New Zealand, and I saw a society that was somewhere between, a more American version, a more Western consumeristic version, but it's still a very green place. And then when I moved to New York as a model, it was shocking. And there was a lot of excess, right? And then working in the fashion industry, which is wonderful. And there's amazing creative people that create these ads which inspire us every day. So it's a huge power. And I realized that we kind of have this amazing superpower to influence culture. And I thought, once I realized that we were like, as I went to school and I learned more about the climate crisis, and I learned about the plastic crisis and the fashion crisis and just excessive overconsumption, I was like, how can we use some of these principles to elevate consciousness, to change trends, to make conscious consumerism cool and trendy and easy, and have just like a positive vision for the future, where people are, they take their power back and they can make these choices. Another area that I think, another moment in time where it really affected me was Good Housekeeping, the magazine, invited me to the Condé Nast building, as they invited a bunch of influencers for their Raise the Green bar event. And I heard Deanna Cohen talk, and she's from the plastic pollution charity. And I learned so much about like the toxicity and the volume of plastic. It's like literally 1 million plastic bags a minute, or some outrageous number, right? All globally. And they had graphics that showed just like in one day how many plastic bottles are used, and it would be taller than the Empire State Building. And I think it just, graphics and visuals and the storytelling is so powerful. And it really hit me in the heart. And I said, I want to change how I live, and I want to change and put sustainability in every facet of my life. And then I got into zero waste living with like Bay Johnson. And I got to maybe like 50% zero waste is so easy to do. And then trying for that next 50% is the harder part. And then COVID hit. So now I basically live like a 50% zero waste lifestyle. And you learn so much from practicing, right? And I think you need to practice it in your own life before you advise clients, or before, you tell followers to do anything. And you learn so much. And so much of it is behavioral and social. So I ended up I always think this is crazy because I did an organizational behavior and change degree. And I remember when I went to school, I was like, no. I want to do like a science degree in sustainability. And they're like, no, if you want to change organizations and how the world works, you have to have you have to have a social science degree. This is a social science about changing behavior. And when you start practicing some of these things yourself, you start realizing like, oh, can I tell this woman at the counter, oh, I don't want to have a plastic bag. Thank you so much. I'm just going to put it in my tote bag. Or I brought my own water bottle. Or like, how do you say these things in public, right? And that takes a little bit of bravery, a little bit of being outspoken, and a behavioral change. And so through learning all those things, I think I've like muscled up over the last 5 years, because I have to advocate for sustainability to stakeholders at a business meeting that don't believe in sustainability. You have to advocate to your friends who are highly consumeristic. You have to advocate sustainability in your household, right? And all in a way that's positive and gets people to see a vision that's beautiful, that they want to do it. It's aspirational. So I've learned so much in the last 5 years, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really great message, and a great place to end. And where can people learn more about all the work that you're doing, and follow you and hear more about these ideas and wonderful messages you're sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is Teresa Moore, Moore. And I know it's kind of ironic because I'm advocating for less on purpose. So Teresa, Teresa, Moore.
Wonderful. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your messages with me and the audience. And I think the approach that you have is really what I really like about it is it's balanced. And I think sustainability needs to be sustainable, and that's what it sounds like you're doing, is finding ways to incorporate sustainability in a way that you can actually do in the long run, by building a habit. 50% zero waste is better than 0% zero waste, and you do what you can, and through those processes you're able to also encourage and influence others, even if you're not an influencer or on TV or a fashion model. As an individual, just in your daily life, your choices can influence others, and I think that's what you are doing in your daily life, and it's really inspiring to see. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure to be on, and thank you for having me.
If you too are working on an exciting sustainable solution or innovation and are looking for funding, why not apply to the Zayed Sustainability Prize? This could help you get to the next level. The Zayed Sustainability Prize is the sponsor of this podcast series. Since 2008, they've recognized and funded the amazing and innovative work of nonprofit organizations, small and medium-sized enterprises, and high schools for their impactful, innovative, and inspiring sustainable solutions. You could be next. If you or someone you know is a champion in sustainability who's working on a solution in health, food, energy, water, or climate action, you can apply today. Small and medium enterprises and nonprofit organizations with sustainable solutions in health, food, energy, water, and climate action can win $600,000, while high schools can apply to the Global High Schools category and win up to $100,000. Apply before May 23rd, 2023. How to apply? Simply click the link in our show notes to begin your submission for the Zayed Sustainability Prize. If you want to connect with a member of the Zayed Sustainability Prize team, simply email them at info@zayedsustainabilityprize.com.